Hello, and welcome to Assignment 5, Workplace Learning, Problem-Solving Skills and Application. First, we will have a look at the problem identified in Assignment 1 in this course. Next, we'll look at the possible solutions, followed by strategies on how to implement the solution in the workplace, as well as pros and cons, the return on investment, different technologies available to the organization, and lastly, organizational support that would need to be available. One issue that I believe Kuehne was facing before my departure is a lack of engagement during training sessions. Since all training is set up to be completed through a series of videos, there is no one person-to-person engagement. This loses the personable feel to the work environment. As stated by Christine C. Manwaring, a direct quote, engagement is a multifaceted concept consisting of behavioral, emotional, and cognitive components, 2017. Manwaring later goes on to say this is an extended literature review that investigates the extent empirical research on the relationship between emotional and cognitive engagement, and between emotional engagement and academic outcomes in post-secondary classrooms, 2017. This can be directly applied to the workplace in regards to the benefits of person-to-person workplace learning engagement. In the scenario of Kuehne, who has more than 1,336 offices in 109 different countries around the world, they have over 82,000 employees. They need to be able to reach all employees' learning styles. As we know, not all employees are engaged and learn well from e-learning platforms. This is why a large company, such as Kuehne, should be able to afford and offer multiple learning options, such as live video conferencing, in-person live training, in addition to the e-learning platforms provided. This blended learning would allow employees to choose what best suits their needs, and thus boosting employees' productivity, because now they will learn what the primary objective was and develop those new skills that were intended. The solution remains a formal learning option, as that best suited to be able to track employees' completion and the most time and cost-effective way to rely on the information on a mass scale. Some strategies that I've identified for Kuehne would first be to establish employee needs within the company, set goals, choose the right technology, and lastly, employee feedback for further improvement. As with any solution, there are always both pros and cons to the situation. Offering multiple blended learning forms allow the organization to meet the needs of multiple types of learners. For example, somebody who needs engagement to be able to ask questions may prefer a live in-person training. This allows the organization to be available for employee questions and clarifications, and ultimately will boost productivity because the employees better understand what they are learning. The downside of the solution, or the con, is that there will ultimately be higher costs associated with multiple learning styles. The organization will need to pay trainers for their full time spent teaching. The video selections and the rental space will need to be provided for in-person training. There is a longer time required for the organization to plan and organize multiple training sessions. The major costs associated with implementing these programs are training the trainers, which would be estimated at about $500 for one full day paid to various trainers. This would also depend on how many trainers you are training, as well as the size of the company and the amount of content you need to cover. Secondly, you would need to purchase live training software, so you could use something like Adobe Connect. Monthly fees for a business are starting at $130 per month, but again, this would vary on if you need multiple accounts. For Kuninagle, they're global, so they have many different countries to cover. So again, very estimated cost. The third would be room rental, if applicable. If you're doing in training and you own your own building, then you may not need to pay money out front, but if you're going out of the office, an estimated cost would be $100 for a rental fee for the day. Lastly, lost production time. This cost, it's a very varying cost because it depends how many people you're training, as well as the amount of employees, how long they're going to be off work, etc. In order for Kuninagle to evaluate their return on investment, I would suggest using Kirkpatrick Learning Model. This encourages us to evaluate learning on 4 levels, which we have covered in the tutorial as well. So the 4 levels of evaluation are reaction. So did your participants enjoy the training? The second is learning. Did they pass the assessment? Did you offer them a final test? How did you evaluate them? So knowing if they have learned something. The third is behavior. Do they work better? Is the productivity of the company up? Is there a learning curve to get used to it? The last is results. Did your business metrics improve at all? There are several technologies available for companies like Kuninagle. One example is Steamshark Video Platform. Some pros that I found with this platform is that it does have a global coverage, which is ideal for a company like Kuninagle. It as well has mobile capabilities, so busy supervisors, managers on the go can log in from their phone to join meetings. It has detailed viewer reports, meaning that you're able to view what the functionality is, how it's being used, etc. There's lots of different customizable options for the video player, as well as privacy controls, which is very important for a company as large as Kuninagle. They are dealing in a very competitive business, so privacy is key. Also, they have 24-hour customer support through global coverage, so it's available anytime, anywhere. Now, some of the cons with this are it is quite expensive. It's $999 per month for businesses, which is quite pricey. However, if you are going to be utilizing it, then it may be a justifiable expense. In addition to the initial training on the software, obviously would be a one-time large cost on training staff how to use it properly. Some options Kuninagle has for organizational support is some learning aids such as IT support team. So they actually already had this. It was just on a smaller scale. So they have 2 employees dedicated to IT support, and they're designated for the Toronto office. Now, not in all of the offices do they have IT support, so I would suggest further developing that support team, so that you have support in BC all the way to St. John's, as well as somebody in your office. So not every office always has an IT support person, and sometimes across the country they've gone home for the day, or they're not in the office yet and you're in need of some sort of IT support and it's not available. Second, having an electronic manual of the training. So just having something you can quickly reference on your computer. You can Control F to find what you're looking for, and that kind of goes with the quick reference guides as well, whether that's hard copy or electronic. Just something that you can quickly look at, that you're thinking to yourself, I know we learned how to do this in training, but I don't quite remember how to do it, and it's just a quick reference. You can look it up, and after a while you will definitely have that memorized.